Hello everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Candidate Forum presented by the Legislative Affairs Committee of the Midlothian Chamber of Commerce. I'm Laura Terhune, I'm the CEO of the Chamber, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you watching at home tonight. Tonight we will be hearing from our city candidates for Place 6, and then later tonight we'll hear from our Place 1 candidates. But before we do that, last year Richard Reno was elected as the mayor of Midlothian to an unexpired term, and of course now he is up for election for a full term, but he is unopposed. So we have asked him to say a few words before we get started with our forum tonight. Mayor Reno, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the Chamber the chance to speak. I'm going to give a few comments relative to the city, to set the stage and where we currently are. The nation has unusual events and challenges right now. Most of these challenges, though, Midlothian cannot make a difference to. What we can do is respond to them, but we're not going to affect them. However, I view our number one challenge in Midlothian continues to be our growth. In spite of all around us, we're still growing, and we're growing at the rate that we have been for the last year or so, even with the various challenges. We are going to work to adhere to the comprehensive plan. We're going to ensure that as we grow, the infrastructure can handle it and staff is there. If you look at our budget, we have a budget that's flat. We have a very conservative approach to our finances, and we can thank past councils and past staff that we're in excellent condition financially. We have good reserves. Our revenues are up, but we have uncertainty in the future as to whether or not the economy continues at the current rate or there's a downturn. Your city is in good position to respond to it. What council is going to do is we're going to come back in 6 months and review the progress and how we've gone. Economically, we have great economic plans to grow. We have the Community Development Board and the Economic Development Boards. These boards bring businesses to our community, jobs, workers, and revenue, and they also bring quality of life. If you the Downtown Master Plan, the council has approved a Downtown Master Plan. And to kick it off, we have worked with the Lawsons in the acquisition of buildings. Now, the city is not here to compete with realtors. We're not here to be landlords. We're not here to be developers. But we're going to work together as a community to vitalize the downtown area. The revenue and all is looking good. From a society point of view, there are many challenges out there in our society today nationally. Our community, we're working together to bring people together to have conversations, and we can have open dialogue working together. We have a great staff going forward. The council, we are in good shape as we look forward to the coming year, and we're excited about the opportunities we have, and I look forward to the conversation tonight. So thank you very much, and
thank you, Mayor
best of
Reno.
luck.
Thank you very much, Mayor Reno. We appreciate your leadership in this community, and we appreciate your being here tonight, showing the support for the Chamber of Commerce. Now I'm going to turn things over to Ross Weaver. Ross is the chairman of the Chamber's Legislative Affairs Committee. His day job is that he is Executive Vice President for Town Square Title, and that keeps him busy, he and his family. He was most recently in a leadership position with the planning and zoning, so he too knows a lot about the community. He'll be our moderator tonight, and Ross, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll head over here.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and help to celebrate the candidates who've thrown their hats in the ring for this highly paid and highly coveted position, full of rainbows and unicorns, and always making everybody happy. If you don't believe me, just talk to the mayor after we get done. He will tell you about how great it is to always be everybody's favorite person. So tonight we get the opportunity to host 2 candidate forums. One is for Place 6, and that's where we're going to begin tonight. We have 4 candidates for that race, one of whom is having to talk to us remotely via my wonderful cell phone. So we will do our best to make sure that Tiffany Cara is able to be heard and to hear as best we can. Live with me here tonight, I have Hud Hartson, I have Alan Morvan, and Jacob Wallace, all of whom are running for your city council in place 6. We'll ask each candidate to make an opening statement. We use the super secretive way of picking that order by how they're put on the ballot to keep it fair and arbitrary. So we'll start with the opening statements, and then we're going to go round robin so that everybody gets a chance to be first and everybody gets a chance to be last and somewhere in the middle along the way through. It's important to remember that tonight's forum is a forum. It's about you, the candidate. It's not about your opponent or anyone else. So focus on who you are and differentiating yourself, and that's what these questions that have been put together by the Legislative Committee are designed to do. So without further ado, we'll begin our 2-minute opening statements. And first we will go to Hud Hartson. The floor is yours, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Russ. My name is Hud Hartson. I'm running for Midlothian City Council, place 6. I'm from Midlothian. Lived here almost my entire 46 years. I'm married. I have 3 kids. Graduated high school here. Went to Hardin Simmons University, Dallas Baptist University. I'm a former small business owner here in Midlothian. And I truly believe in Midlothian. I'm running for the city council, frankly, because I love Midlothian. I believe in its people. I believe in our businesses. I believe in the chamber. I believe in our atmosphere that we've created over the past decades to make this a truly great city to live in. If elected, my priorities are to make sure that we maintain a fiscally conservative budget, to work within the budget the same way any of our households should work. I'm a big proponent of property rights. I'm not a believer in eminent domain, and I want to strive to keep our transparency at a very high level so that the trust with the citizens will always be there.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that, Mr. Hartson. Next, we will go to Alan Moorman. Alan, 2 minutes. The floor is yours.
Well, my name is Alan Moorman, and I'm running for Midlothian City Council, place 6. And what do you need to know about me? Well, first and foremost, I'm a man of faith. I put my faith in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. I've been married to my beautiful wife, Mallory, here tonight for almost 10 years, coming up on it, so that's pretty cool. I've got 4 kiddos, 3, 5, 6, and 9. All of them just have birthdays back to back, so I have to kind of replay that in my head. But I coach 2 of their soccer teams, the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old, so y'all pray for me. I definitely need that faith piece. Alongside that, I'm a small business owner here in Midlothian. I own and operate a company alongside my business partner who's here, Riley Plant. It's called True Texas Benefits. We work with small businesses in the area on their employee benefits and really enjoy and get a lot of fulfillment out of that. What do I believe? I'm a conservative. I believe in small government, really in through and through in small government. I believe in freedom of local commerce, and hopefully I'll get an opportunity to get more in depth in that throughout the night. I believe in private property rights. That's very important to me, both on the side of small business and the commercial side alongside that of citizens and residences. I believe in freedom, and just through and through, I really hope to, as things progress, if I am elected as your city councilman, I hope to bring those values to the table there at the city council. So if you believe like I believe, I ask for your support coming up on early voting on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next, we will go to Jacob Wallace. Jacob, 2 minutes. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. And they told me I need to take my mask off for answering questions so you can hear me. So my wife, if you're watching this, I promise I'm not breathing in much right now. So my name is Jacob Wallace, and I'm running for city council. I'm a local attorney. I've been practicing for 10 years, or 13 years, but I've been focused for the past 10 years on representing individuals and small businesses, helping them resolve disputes. I also teach government for Tarrant County College. I serve on the board of directors for Dispute Resolution Services of Northwest Texas, which is the low-cost mediation provider for Tarrant County. I'm also a volunteer mediator with them. I serve on the advisory board for the Midlothian Higher Education Center, serve as an officer on the Midlothian Economic Development. I'm the secretary for MED. And I'm also a member of the Chamber. And I'm very excited to get to be here today because really I believe that nothing encapsulates the American dream quite as well as owning your own business. And as a city council member, my goal is to really help people in our city realize that dream. And I promise that if elected, I will be a tireless advocate for small businesses in our community. I look forward to answering your questions and to continue working with you to improve our community.
Thank you, Jacob. Last, we will go to the opening statement from Tiffany Kara, who's joining us via phone. Tiffany, 2 minutes. The floor is yours.
Hi there. My name is Tiffany Kara, and my husband graduated from Midlothian in 1997, was pro Panther Regiment as a trumpet player. Ever since then, he's wanted to move back, and we moved back in 2014. Before moving back to Midlothian, I was heavily involved in reducing the maternal mortality rate in North Texas through nonprofit work and things like that. Then in 2015, I really became engaged in the city and started showing up to meetings and making my voice heard. In 2018, I was part of Art for Art's campaign staff and really part of kind of a think tank message system that we kind of bounce ideas off each other. And I'm running for my kids and my neighbors. We decided to put down roots here in 2014, and I want to help shape today's town into tomorrow's future. I'm running to help carry Art's legacy across the finish line, like he encouraged me to do so many times over and over again. And I'm ready to put my money where my mouth is. For 5 years, I've been so vocal, standing before council with various grievances and words of encouragement, and playing armchair coaching. And I actually want to play ball now. So my priorities as city council or on city council is communication. Communication to me is a great uniter, but a lack of communication can be a great divider. And that's one of my priorities is clear, transparent communication, as well as financial fiscal responsibility and property owners' rights, as well, and finally representation.
Tiffany, I hate to cut you off. We just hit 2 minutes, so we're going to move into our next round of questioning here. All right, so when we get into the actual questions, each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond. The first 3 questions are advanced questions. The candidates were provided before tonight's meeting. The next 4 prepared questions will be extemporaneous. None of the candidates have seen those before tonight. They'll each have the opportunity to answer one of those first, so it will give us a good idea to see how they do on their feet. So starting out with Alan Mormon. Alan, the first question of our prepared advanced questions goes to you. In your mind, what are the top 3 challenges facing our city, and what ideas do you have to address them?
Top 3 challenges facing our city. Off the cuff, I would say definitely the future of our tax rate. I know that anytime a city is growing the way we are, that's something that becomes quite a challenge because there's a demand for more revenue due to the fact that there's more of a population, there's more services being rendered, so on and so forth. And so the allure or the temptation is to see that property tax rate increase as the demand of revenue increases and the budget expands. I want to continue down a path to reduce that rate. I think that's one of the challenges from a budgetary perspective that's going to be on the horizon. Secondly, I think infrastructure is definitely going to be a challenge. And I think the best way to address infrastructure is to work with the private sector and to cut as much red tape as possible in order to provide that infrastructure necessary to really meet the demands of that population. And alongside that, I believe there is ultimately, as the growth happens, there are some challenges when it comes to how we handle that growth, what we do for housing in some of those areas. And I believe that the most conservative approach possible is the right route. I'm out of time to get into more detail, But those are probably the top 3 challenges I see.
Thank you, Alan. Jacob Wallace, same question to you. What are the top 3 challenges facing our city, and what ideas do you have to address them?
Okay. So obviously 90 seconds isn't enough time to really get into detail on these. So very quickly, I believe that the 3 major challenges facing our community, it's a lack of a community identity, in needs for improvement in infrastructure, roads, and attacking traffic, and also lowering taxes, of course. Everybody talks about the last 2, so I want to focus on the first one. This is something I've talked about on my Facebook page. Once upon a time, our city was the cement capital of Texas, right? Everyone knew what that meant. But as we grew, as we changed, we decided to change that image to the public. And so we came up with a new motto. And the new motto is DFW Southern Star. And that's good as far as it goes, but it doesn't really mean anything, right? Your city's motto is like your business's tagline. It's your first best case as to why anyone should care about you, right? And so as we sit here today, we're seeing our city grow, and I think our city has done a great job on this growth, but we're seeing them grow sort of generically. And I don't think that's where our city needs to go. We don't need to become another sleeper community, bedroom community for Dallas. And so what I proposed on my Facebook page, I'm running out of time, but what I proposed on my Facebook page is that we take a bold new vision and that we become the entrepreneurship capital of Texas. And that we work to promote the growth of small businesses and really become a place where small businesses can find a home and build. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Tiffany, same question to you. What are the top 3 challenges facing our city, and what ideas do you have to address them?
So, everybody talks about growth, but one of the subsets of growth to me is balancing the wants and needs. So, does everybody want a city pool? Yeah, sure, everybody wants one, but do we need one? So that comes to that fiscal conservativeness and responsibility. So I absolutely know that we have a need to get some kids some activities after school, things that aren't necessarily school-based, things that they can do with their friends. I feel like the community park meets some of those needs, and perhaps maybe a nonprofit type community center. But I further support like a public library outside of the school system. That would the biggest challenge out of all of this is to provide all of these services without while reducing the tax burden on residents. The majority of our budget comes from industry, and we don't want to shift that from industry over to the residents to the rooftops. So that's going to take a lot of creativity, but the balancing of wants and needs while reducing the tax burden and getting kids alternative activities are my 3 biggest challenges that I see.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. HUD Hardison, same question to you. What are the top 3 challenges facing our city, and what ideas do you have to address them?
It's a great question. Tough question to answer within the time constraints, but it's a great question. I firmly believe that the 3 challenges we're going to face as a growing city will be taxes, roads, and how to draw more business to Midlothian. First of all, as far as the taxes go, a city must entertain new ideas, to do everything they can to keep the taxes as low as they can for the citizens. I'm a firm believer, and you have 3 sources of revenue in the city primarily. You have your rooftops, you have your commercial retail, and you have your industry. And I think the city needs to balance those so that the burden of the taxes aren't on any one category in that. And we must find a way to continue to improve our roads. We've built streets such as 14th Street. That's helped alleviate some of the traffic. Some of the other things we can do, we can work with TxDOT to come up with ideas along the highway. But there are some workable solutions. I think we're a little bit behind the curve right now, but there's plenty of time to catch up on that.
Thanks, sir. The next question tonight will go first to Jacob Wallace. A reminder, we do have 90 seconds for each answer. This question was written before recent events, so I'm going to amend it just a little bit slightly. What is your vision to ensure the continued economic vitality of the downtown business district, including the repurposing of the former Fire Station Number 1 and adding in the Lawson buildings, which the city is now contracted to purchase?
It's a wonderful question, and since I'm getting to talk to the chamber, I'm going to tell you the truth. It is not the city that's going to make this a success or failure. It's the vision and determination of our small businesses. What the city can do is we can try to make an environment where small businesses can grow and can thrive. So you see this with our new developments in the downtown area that we're talking about right now. We also see it with the Midlothian Business Park, which was aimed at giving a home for smaller industry so that we can have a place where they can go. We also see it through the vision of our chamber and through more close partnerships with our chamber, giving them the ability, the resources they need to really work with our small businesses. We need to work with our educational partners. We have our great, just across the street, I think that way, we have our higher education center. I'm on the board for that, and really we can use them as a resource to help build entrepreneurship. We see this with the Mile as well. You can see a lot more about this on my Facebook page. I talk about it quite a bit, but ultimately what the city can do is sort of give you the environment to grow and otherwise try to get out of the way. But it's really going to be up to you as to what happens. So I'm very excited to see it. I want to work with the city to make sure that we build that environment so that we can see what you're able to do with our city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Same question next goes to Tiffany Cara. What is your vision to ensure the continued economic vitality of the downtown business district, including the repurposing of the former fire station number 1 and the newly contracted for Lawson buildings downtown?
I actually love this question because downtown is my favorite part of Midlothian. It's full of small businesses that are the bedrock and the most involved part of our community. We've all dreamed of what we do at the Lawson buildings, and I fully support the idea that the city is purchasing these to be able to help support the revitalization. I agree with Mr. Wallace. This is going to be a community effort, not just a government effort. But I think that one of the things that we can do, and I've talked a lot about this with other people, is the downtown area is always going to be small business. It's never going to be large business. So our downtown business district is really poised really well to support these small businesses and signage ordinances that are geared specifically for them. We're never going to see a Walmart or a Target or a Home Depot in this downtown district. So we need to have signage ordinances that support these businesses that need to have the most visibility because they don't have the biggest budget for it or the biggest real estate to put it out there. That is one of the biggest things that I can see the city doing right now for the downtown business district and to help our downtown master plan flourish.
Thank you, Tiffany. Hud Hartson, same question to you, sir. What is your vision to ensure the continued economic vitality of the downtown business district, including the repurposing of the former fire station number 1 and your vision for the city's use of the recently contracted for Lawson buildings?
Well, I think any small town's focal point has to be its downtown. Without that, you don't have an identity. And for a few years now, Midlothian's identity has started to slip because of lack of more businesses downtown. The city has a comprehensive downtown plan. I like that plan. I encourage you all to look into that and see the details of it. I think the city needs to continue to work with the Downtown Business Association and foster an environment where businesses want to start, grow, and move to. As far as the old fire station number 1, I've been here my entire life. I've seen, that fire station through many different stages, and I was excited when we got the new fire station number 1. But I don't think it's time to do away with the old fire station number 1. I think it has a purpose. It's a historic town in our city. I think it can be repurposed into a restaurant or somewhere where families can go to entertain and have a good time. Just remember, as our downtown goes, our city will go, and it's vitally important that we keep this part of our city alive and thriving.
Thank you, sir. Alan Mormon, this question last goes to you, sir. What is your vision to ensure the continued economic vitality of the downtown business district, including the repurposing of the former fire station number 1 and your vision for the Lawson buildings recently contracted for by the city?
It's a great question, and I think it's a question of principle first and foremost. So It's about what do I believe about economic vitality and the economic development of a city. At the end of the day, the first question that I have to answer for myself is, do I believe that the local government is directly responsible for the economic vitality within the city? The answer is a hard no. I do not believe that it's the city's responsibility to create that. The second question I have to ask myself is, do I believe that the city has impact on the economic vitality within the city? The answer is a hard yes. The city definitely impacts the economic growth within our municipality. And I believe the best way that the city council and the city as a municipality can favorably impact the downtown area as well as just economic development within our community is to step out of the way of entrepreneurs and small business owners, cut as much red tape as possible, try to make it as easy as possible to do business within our city. Our city does a much better job than many other municipalities, and I want to keep down that path of making it easier and easier for developers and small businesses to do business here. And I believe that our entrepreneurs, our small business owners here in this city, they'll be just fine.
Thank you, sir. Our next question will go first to Tiffany Cara, but before we ask that question, I do want to remind those folks that are watching on the Facebook Live, we are monitoring the comments section for any additional questions should we have time at the end of our prepared questions. So if there's something that you would like to ask all of the candidates, not one singular, it has to be a question that applies to everyone, then we would be happy to share that with them should time allow. So our third and final advanced question that the candidates were given before tonight's event goes first to Tiffany Cara, and that question is, identify one leader or mentor that you respect, and then describe how that person's qualities or characteristics would benefit a member of the Midlothian City Council.
Okay, I'm going to preface this with, I typically don't hold people up on a pedestal because people are fallible and are always asking for our feelings to be heard when that happens. But I had to think long and hard about this, and I really feel like the answer for me is Councilman Art Farrar. He was able to turn negative emotions and anger, resentment into something that we all laughed about and giggled about, and we smiled at each other and left feeling like neighbors and like something got accomplished. His biggest thing that I just respected was that he treated everybody like he wasn't up there politicking. He didn't do it for any kind of recognition. He was up there to be a neighbor helping a neighbor, and nothing more. And that is something that I am trying to run through that art filter, and I really wish that I could time shift this back to use some of his words and not have to run it through what would art do and I just ask him. But we can't do that. So I really want to be able to, just not just me but everybody, just know that we're all neighbors helping neighbors and find that way to make that negative into something that we all laugh and smile and leave feeling like we're all friends.
Thank you, Tiffany. We appreciate that response. Mr. Hartson, next to you, same question. Identify one leader or mentor that you respect. Describe how that person's qualities or characteristics would benefit a member of the Midlothian City Council.
Well, this is probably my favorite question because there's so many people that deserve their name mentioned, and I found it really hard to narrow it down to one person in our city. I've been here for 46 years, and one of the people that come to my mind is the legendary baseball coach, Ronnie Joe Clanton. Over his 20 plus years as coach, and probably twice that many inside the MISD family, he has inspired, created, and moved forward leaders in our community and other communities that have moved away that we can't imagine. The guy has heart, the love for his wife, David Clanton, and he's a true role model for people growing up in this town to look up to, and I really admire Coach Clanton. The second person I wanted to fit in is Mrs. Isom. For those of you that might not know Mrs. Isom, she was born here, raised here, graduated high school in 1959 from here. She taught schools here her entire life. She still substitute teaches, and she's just a wonderful person to get to know. She's everything this city epitomizes. You know, you talk to her and you really feel the roots of our city and the love that she has for the students and the school district and people throughout this city. I truly, truly admire that lady.
Thank you, sir. Alan Mormon, next to you, same question. Identify one leader or mentor that you respect. Describe how that person's qualities or characteristics would benefit a member of the Midlothian City Council.
Yeah, I thought about this question, and there's a lot of folks. That came to mind, a lot of famous folks. But the person that really stuck out to me was my grandfather, Bobby Lewis. He is hopefully watching. If not, I'm sure my mom will let him hear this. But he's the man that in my life throughout the years growing up and even through my adult life, I saw characteristics in him that really went above and beyond anybody else in my life. He had the characteristic that stuck out the most is loyalty. And I believe, over the years, he pastored most of the churches I went to growing up. He had loyalty to his principles, loyalty to his faith, loyalty to his family, both his regular family and his church family. And throughout that time, I've never seen anybody sacrifice and have that level of loyalty really ever in my life. And so if I can bring even just a little bit of those same characteristics that he has, if I can bring that to the table, to the city council, and loyalty to my principles, loyalty to the people of this community, and to the people I serve, I believe that I'll do just fine if I can one day live up to his level there.
Thank you, sir. Jacob Wallace, last to you, same question. Identify one leader or mentor that you respect and describe how that person's qualities or characteristics would benefit a member of the Midlothian City Council.
So thank you for the question. It's an interesting one. I struggled with this one a little bit. When I first started, the first person I thought of was my mom. She was a principal here in town and did a lot for this community. And I thought, well, maybe I should talk about Judge Sloan. He was the municipal court judge out in Lufkin, who I clerked with. He had a private practice, taught me a lot about what it is to be a lawyer and a servant to your community. Thought about talking about my first boss, Jane Freese Weber. But then the evil part of me took over, and I realized I'm a government professor. And they said leader, not local leader. So I decided to just cheat, and I want to talk for a minute about Abraham Lincoln. Now I know, talking about Abraham Lincoln when asked about a leader is more or less cheating. I mean, he's ranked number one most of the time on who the best president ever was. So, it's a little bit of cheating, but I want to talk about it in a different way. We all know that he was a great politician and a great statesman. But what do we know about his military experience? Well, he didn't have that much prior to becoming president. He had served in the volunteer militia, but he had never seen combat. I'm already running out of time. That's the problem with having professors talk. But he had served in the volunteer militia and then had not seen combat. In fact, he joked on the campaign trail that he had had many bloody battles with mosquitoes. And so he did not consider himself a great military man, but then once he was elected president, that of course became his main focus. And what did he do? He worked tirelessly to understand military. He read history, he read stories about, he talked to generals. He became a great military leader, so much so that he is still remembered that way today.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace.
Dang, Tyler.
The timer strikes.
Only my students had that ability.
So now we'll move into our prepared questions that have not been seen by the candidates before tonight. As I said, there's 4 of those, so there'll be an opportunity for each one of them to go first in this trial by fire portion of tonight's forum. So our 4th question goes first to Hud Hartson. Hud, give us an example of a time when you took on a position that you felt was right, even though it might have been unpopular.
Well, as a 14-year law enforcement officer, I think I do that every day. There's a rule of law in this country, whether we like it or not. I think we have to follow that. And every day at work, I'm put in tough situations to where I've had to make command decisions, and I think that will help me if elected to City Council here in Midlothian, Place 6. There's tough decisions to make on the City Council. They aren't always popular, but you have to make those, and you have to be used to making those decisions. And I've been doing that for 14 years, and I have no problem taking a stand and doing that.
Thanks, sir. Next, we will go to Alan Moorman. Alan, give us an example of a time when you took on a position that you felt was right, even though it might have been unpopular.
You know, there's a few different instances I could think of. You know, it was back at the beginning of the year. There was a lot of the one that comes to mind most recently when COVID began, and there was a lot of what would the right word be? Back and forth. I don't know what the politically correct term would be, but about you know, the rights of business owners to open, whether or not the government can shut down private businesses. You know, can the state government or the federal government or the local government say you can't leave your house? You know, where do those rights lie? Where do the rights of people lie versus the safety of others? And where's the government's role in that? There was a lot of questions around that. It was right around when the election was first supposed to happen, before it got kicked down the road 6 months. And I got a lot of flack because I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the rights of private business ownership. I believe in freedom of local commerce. And so I went to the Commissioner's Court multiple times when our county was going back and forth around whether or not to shut down private businesses. It wasn't popular. I got calls. I got a lot of bad flack, but I believed that was the right thing to do. I stood up for it, and I still stand for that today. So that's the most recent one I can think of.
Thank you, sir. Jacob Wallace, same question to you. Give an example of a time when you took a position that you felt was right, even though it might have been unpopular.
Again, thank you for the question. It's an interesting one, which unfortunately means I won't be able to finish my thought on Lincoln. When I think about this, I think back to high school, actually. So I grew up here in Midlothian. I'm a conservative, but when we got older, my dad's job took us across the country, and ultimately I ended up graduating out in California, in Southern California, right outside of Los Angeles. So I'm a conservative, and at the time, I don't know if it's still the case, in California, the term conservative was literally an insult. They would say, "Oh, you're being conservative," and that was the worst possible thing you could be. It also turns out, as you may have noticed, I like talking about government. So these two things did not go over very well. I would sit there talking about limited government, lower taxes, the importance of America's role in the world, and they would calmly explain to me why I was basically Hitler. But I think that really something positive grew out of that. I've come to the conclusion that you can't really have a belief unless it's challenged. Unless you have the opportunity to have somebody argue vehemently against you, you can't really know what you believe. So as a government professor, that's what I do in my classroom. Regardless of what the student believes, even if it identifies completely with what I believe, I always take the other position because they deserve the opportunity to find out what they truly believe and why they truly believe that. You can only get that through adversity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Tiffany, this question goes last to you. Tiffany Cara, give an example of a time when you took on a position that you felt was right, even though it might have been unpopular.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I am not afraid to tell you my opinion, and you might feel like you need to ask me, but you've already gotten it at that point. So one of the most recent and relevant times was the school bond. I was very vocal about not being opposed to the school bond, and part of that had there were two things that went along
Thank you, Tiffany. The next question tonight in our prepared but not advanced questions will go first to Alan Mormon. Alan, in preparation for this role, how many city council meetings have you physically attended since they resumed in-person meetings? And what changes or sacrifices in your personal life do you anticipate making to ensure you're able to attend not only official meetings, but other events required of a city council person?
Sure, that's actually an easy one. I was getting a little bit nervous. I believe I've missed, and I have to, somewhere between 4 or 5 meetings out of the entire year. I've probably been to, I don't know how many there's been, but a lot, especially during all the craziness early in the spring and everything. I've missed just a handful throughout the year. I've been at almost every one. I've been at all the budget workshops. I go to just about everything. I also serve on the 4B board, and was recently appointed to that a couple of months ago. So I am at all those board meetings, serving in that capacity at this time, getting to be a part of that, which is a blessing. So I'm certainly ready to make the commitment, just like I am right now. Whether elected or not, I'll still be at the city council meetings, still being involved. So that is certainly not a challenge for me, and I look forward to being a part in the capacity as a councilman. But as far as the time commitment and being prepared for all of the time that goes into that on a volunteer basis, that is certainly something that I'm excited about, not concerned about for myself. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jacob Wallace, same question next to you. In preparation for this role, how many city council meetings have you physically attended since they resumed in-person meetings? And what changes or sacrifices in your personal life do you anticipate making to ensure that you're able to attend official meetings and other events required of a city council person?
Thank you for the question. So I'm in a slightly different position than most of the other candidates because, as you may remember from the beginning, I'm involved in a number of non-elected boards. So it seems like, especially right now with all the emergency meetings we're having, I'm in a board meeting relating to local government every single week. So I am constantly involved in meetings with local government. But the question is, how many city council meetings have you physically been present at since this COVID? And the answer is none. And no one should be going to meetings right now unless they actually have business before the city council. The worst thing that can happen to our community is that this virus begin to spread again. We just saw our president got sick with this. It's real, it's there, and even having the best medical care in the world can't protect you. So if you have the opportunity to stay at home, you need to stay at home. If you go out, you need to wear a mask. You need to take basic precautions to make sure that your community is safe. Because what happens if this starts spreading again? Well, what happens is the government ends up shutting stuff down. And nobody wants to do that because I'm going to say this point blank, being a small business owner, small businesses can't survive another shutdown. Most of us barely survived the last one if we did. And so if you care about your community, stay home if you can, wear a mask if you have to go out, but try to socially distance. Try to care for your other citizens because we're all in this together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Tiffany, same question next to you. In preparation for this role, how many city council meetings have you physically attended since they resumed in-person meetings? And what changes or sacrifices in your personal life do you anticipate making to ensure that you are able to attend official meetings and other events required of a city council person?
Sure. To echo Jacob, we are very COVID cautious in our house. We have a type 1 diabetic in the house, and the reason I actually am not there tonight is because we've actually had a direct exposure, and we need to be safe and keep everybody safe. So I personally have not attended any meetings that I did not have business at. Now, that does not mean that I'm not attending
Thank you, Tiffany. We've run out of time on that question. Same question to you, HUD. In preparation for this role, how many city council meetings have you physically attended since they have resumed the in-person meetings, and what changes or sacrifices in your personal life do you anticipate making to ensure that you are able to attend official meetings and other events required of a city council person?
Well, I would like to expand that question a little bit. This year, before I even applied to be the city council member up for election, I started attending more city council meetings. I've not missed a single city council meeting this year. There have been about 2 or 3 that I've been on vacation or out of town visiting my kids at college. And in those cases, I watched through the city's website. You can watch the city council meetings online. But every other city council meeting I've been to in person, I feel that that's vitally important. There's something that you miss by watching something online versus in person. I've been to other board meetings, such as the MCDC, the 4B board meetings. I've attended 3 or 4 of those. I've attended several park board meetings. I've attended, I don't know, half a dozen meetings that they had going on outside of the regular scheduled city council meetings as far as the new community park. I feel like those were vitally important to understand, and I firmly believe if you're going to be on the city council, you have to be willing to make sacrifices. Even as far as my job, I've made sacrifices. I could have days and weekends off with my job, but I've chosen to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off with my job in preparation for winning this election.
Thank you, sir. Our next advanced question extemporaneous question not given to candidates ahead of tonight's meeting will go first to Jacob Wallace. So Jacob, we have a very diverse population socioeconomically, educationally, in many different respects in Midlothian. How will you connect with that entire community on multiple levels to ensure that all viewpoints are heard and at least reasonably considered if elected?
So it's an interesting question and certainly a challenging question right now. I think one of the first things we have to do, and this is something the city's gotten much better about, is with communication. Making sure that people hear the message from the city, hear that they're welcome, and hear that we're available. And I think that makes a really big difference if we can get people involved. Because one of the problems we're facing, this is something I talked about earlier, is that we do have this growingly diverse population, but we're also becoming a bedroom community. And so what happens is a number of people are moving here, but they feel disconnected from the city. They don't feel like this is really their home. This is just the place where they sleep and their kids go to school, but they go to Dallas or Fort Worth for work. And as this population, this more diverse population comes in, we need to be continuously working to welcome them and to get them to recognize that Midlothian is not just the place they sleep, but it's the place they live, and we need to get them involved with that. And that's really something I'm focusing on. And another part of it is just diversity. You know, I believe that economic improvement across the board helps everybody, right? And so if we can get small businesses going, we can help everyone in our community, regardless of their race, their religion, their gender. And so by focusing on economic development, especially small business development, letting people live that American dream, we can make our community more inclusive and more open to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tiffany Carr, this question goes next to you. We do have a very diverse socioeconomic, race, gender, multi-different facets to our community. So how will you connect with our entire community on multiple levels to ensure that all viewpoints are heard and at least reasonably considered if elected?
Sure. What have I been saying? I've been saying communication is the great uniter, and communication doesn't mean just talking to talk. It means getting me to meet with people and really listening to them and really listening to their needs and wants. The very first thing that I would do is by putting that female face on the board,
HUD, same question next to you. How will you connect with the entire community of Midlothian on multiple levels to ensure that all viewpoints are heard and at least reasonably considered if elected?
Well, this is really easy for me because my personal life already reflects that. I have friends from the entire political spectrum. I have friends, of all races, interact with them on a daily basis. I don't think there's going to be anything that I'm going to need to change as far as understanding the people of Midlothian. As I said before, I'm from here. I've chosen to stay here in my adult professional life, and I have no plans to move away. I understand the people of this city, both new and old. I'm here to bridge Midlothian's past with its future, and part of that is understanding its people and being able to communicate with them. And I feel like that I've already done that my entire life here in an effective manner.
Thank you, sir. Alan, same question to you, sir. How will you connect with the entire community of Midlothian on multiple levels to ensure that all viewpoints are heard and at least reasonably considered if elected?
I don't know that I'm going to have to change a whole lot as far as the connecting piece. I feel like I'm pretty well connected with folks here in the city. We have a small business here. We've got employees at our small business of a very diverse background and ethnicities. We've got customers of the likes, of just a very diverse background and just of all different backgrounds. Anyway, with that being said, when it comes to actually connecting with them, I equate that to just communication, being able to sit down and talk with people, being able to have a conversation. And one of the things I've done from the very beginning is I've given out my cell number multiple times on every platform. I'm on Facebook. I give people my cell number. My office is on 9th and Avenue I. If somebody can come by there anytime, any day. If you catch me, if you go by Beef O'Brady's on a Thursday about 5 o'clock, you might even catch me there. But I'm open to conversations. I want to understand people's concerns here in the city and different viewpoints. And I just want to be completely accessible. And if there's any way that I'm not being accessible already, I'm open to it. But I think I've got about every avenue covered as best I can. So I just want to be more and more accessible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, the last one of our prepared extemporaneous questions will go first to Tiffany Cara. I would remind the audience that we will have just a limited amount of time. If there are any questions that you have for all of the candidates to answer the same question, please put it in the chat or comments section, and we'll do our best to pose that question to them. Any questions that come in late or after that time has cut off, we will email to all the candidates and ask them to submit written responses that we can then share on the Chamber's website. So our final extemporaneous question prepared goes first to Tiffany Cara. Tiffany, what are your views in our growing city on lot sizes, house sizes, and the overall population density for the city of Midlothian as it grows?
Well, I grew up in Arlington, Texas, and when we moved in, lot sizes were pretty big. My parents moved again in 2002, and by the time they moved in July of 2019 to Long Branch, the streets were so crowded that we were nearly hit by cars slaloming in and out of parked cars on the streets. I'm not a huge fan of dense population. I understand there's a need and a want and a desire in some areas. I do like that our comprehensive plan gives a nod to those areas and gives way to those areas. However, we moved to Midlothian because it was a country feel and a rural feel, and where you could feel the land. And I just don't see that with 0 lot lines everywhere or quarter acre and under lot size. That's the norm for the entire city. I want to be able to drive down my street and not have to worry about some kid darting out from behind a car because there's 1,000 cars down either side of the road. So we have a lot of people coming towards Midlothian, very
Thank you, Tiffany. We're out of time on that question. HUD Hartson, same question next to you. What are your views on lot sizes, house sizes, and the overall population density for the city of Midlothian as it grows?
Well, I think one of the pitfalls intrinsically that go along with answering that question is people feel like they have to choose one or the other. In every well-developed city, you're going to have different varying lot sizes. You're going to have the wide country model. You're going to have the zero lot for maybe younger couples or retiring couples that don't want to maintain large landscapes. And I think you have to be able to work with city staff and plan for those and talk to the builders and have an open dialogue when it comes to lot sizes. With that comes, the famous, argument here is, well, do we want rear garage entry, side garage entry, or front garage entry? And I think it's something the city council is doing a good job with now, but it's something that we must continue to address and hear the citizens' concerns about.
Thank you, sir. Alan Mormon, the question next to you. What are your views on lot sizes, house sizes, and the overall population density for the city of Midlothian as it grows?
Well, if you're asking what I like big lots. I'm from originally from South Mississippi, and I don't know if they even have lots. It's just big old acreages and acreages. But the truth is, it's not about what I like or what I would buy or what I want. And it's a question, ultimately a principle. Do I believe that we need to be micromanaging every piece of development in the city? The answer is no. I think we need to simplify our standards. We need to simplify the bar for developers, because I've had meetings with multiple developers throughout this time the last year, and it's just a consistent thing where developers are saying it's so much easier to do business in such and such city or to develop in such and such city. And at the end of the day, we've got to make it simple. We don't need to, there's a reason that there's zoning, there's a reason that there's planning, there's a reason that there's certain PDs and things like that need to happen. But we've got to make sure that those are the exception rather than the rule, and that we just simplify the process. If we're going to allow one thing somewhere, we need to allow it, another place. We need to simplify it where it doesn't become a situation where every single council meeting there's tons of developments that need to be micromanaged. I don't believe that's the way that's the job of the council. I think we need to simplify it.
Thank you, Alan. Jacob, same question last to you, sir. What are your views on lot sizes, house sizes, and overall population density for the city of Midlothian as it grows?
So it's important to understand that this is not a one-size-fits-all answer. It depends on where you are in the city and what kind of development is going on around you. So for our downtown area, we need to promote increased density, because that's really what our downtown is. Walkability, that sort of walk and live neighborhoods, that's what we're looking for in our downtown. That's what we're looking to grow towards. But as we move farther out, it makes sense that we have larger lots until we get to the sort of large country lots that we see sort of on the outskirts. And that's how our city's growing, and that's really how it should grow. Now, one issue that I talked about on my Facebook page, and I'm trying to get a conversation started on, so I'd love it if all of you would come over and tell me what you think about it, is what we should do about varying lot size within communities and even varying housing models within communities. And by which I'm talking about, as I mentioned on my Facebook page, should we start having developers put townhomes in communities? So we have single-family households, and then we have townhomes. And the idea is that should we encourage people of different economic status, and maybe you're moving here because you're retiring and you want to live near the grandkids, should we have a place in our communities for you to move to, or should everybody in a community be required to get the same basic style of house? And it's a conversation I think we need to start having as a community, and I welcome, come over, yell at me on Facebook, that's what it's for. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. And as I don't see that we've had any questions come in through our comments section, which means we've either done a great job of preparing questions or you guys are just tired of hearing me ask them. Either one is acceptable, because we find ourselves at the point in our agenda where we will let each candidate make a closing statement. Now, these closing statements will be about 1 minute each. So we're going to give Jacob just about 30 seconds to, internalize that time limit. before we get rolling on this. Since the original order on the introductions went Hud Hartson, Alan Mormon, Jacob Wallace, and Tiffany Carroll, we're going to go in the exact inverse order of that. So we will let Tiffany give the first closing statement since she gave the last opening statement.
1 minute.
And each candidate gets exactly 1 minute, 60 seconds to summarize themselves and make their sales pitch for why you should vote for them for Midlothian City Council, Place 6, coming up in November. Tiffany, the floor is yours. 1 minute. Go.
Is this a he who shall be go last shall go first type situation? So, in closing, I would like to just reiterate that my vision for the city is to continue our transparency, where we have such great communication that it unites our neighbors, and that we treat each other like neighbors and listen to each other's grievances and come to mutually acceptable terms. And that's not always going to be the case, but my goal is whether or not I win this race is at the end of the day to know that each and every one of you are my neighbors, and that I would do the exact same thing for you that I would do up there as I would for you behind a keyboard, or if I was walking down the road. And that would be to connect you to the resources that you need within the city, to find the solutions that are necessary, and just make sure that everything is handled at the end of the day.
Thank you, Tiffany. We appreciate it. We appreciate your attendance and all of your comments tonight. Next, we will go to Jacob Wallace. Jacob, 1 minute. The floor is yours, sir.
The gauntlet is thrown. Okay. So, why should you vote for me? Well, point blank, experience matters more than ever in this election, because we're measuring the term in months, not years. Literally, there's going to be a new election very quickly. And serving on city council serving in any government board is like drinking from a fire hose. You get all this information very quickly. You have to process it and be able to move forward. Now, who am I? Well, I understand government. I'm a lawyer and I teach government. That's what I do for a living. I understand the community. I grew up here. I moved back here later, so I understand what we were, what we've changed into, and I have a vision for where we're going. I also serve on a number of boards, and so I understand how our city works, what tools they have, and how we can move forward. So I'm ready to hit the ground running and work for you on day one. Very quickly, if you want to find out more, I try to use my Facebook page to get out information specifically about my campaign and my policies, so please visit me there. Jacob Wallace for Midlothian City Council, Place 6.
Thank you, sir. Next, we will go to Alan Mormon. Alan, you have 1 minute. The floor is yours, sir.
Appreciate it. And so in closing, what I really want to bring to the table as your city councilman is I want to bring common sense, a common sense approach to every area that I'm involved in. Common sense is kind of something that's lacking in a lot of levels of government, federal, state, and many times we find it even at the local level. And I want to bring that to the table. I'm not a politician. I don't have, some kind of political aspiration. I'm just a small business owner trying to make a difference, trying to help out. And I want to be a true representative of the folks here in Midlothian. And I want to do the very best I can to make sure every voice is heard. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a conservative. I'm pro-business, pro-freedom of local commerce, pro-liberty in every area of life. And if you want to find out more, you can go to my website at votealanmormon.com, or you can search me on Facebook at Alan Mormon, and I'll be happy to chat with you at any time.
Thank you, sir. Hud Hartson, last to you. Closing remarks. 1 minute. The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank this Chamber of Commerce for having us. I appreciate y'all's time, effort, in putting this together. Thank you to the mayor for your opening comments. You always speak so eloquently and make me feel like I need to improve every day I'm speaking. As I've told you before, I'm from Midlothian. I'm here to bridge Midlothian's past with its future. I've made myself available 7 days a week this year to talk to anybody, whether it be online, handing out my cell phone number. You can even send me a text. In any form of communication you're comfortable with, I am. We're at a pivotal point in Midlothian's future. We need someone that understands, that is been making sacrifices for this city in preparation for this job, and that is willing to carry through their ideas and their vision for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, HUD, and thank you to all of our candidates, and thank you to all of our folks that are watching our live stream at home tonight. A huge thank you to Mayor Reno for coming out and gracing us with his opening remarks for tonight's event. We do have another forum that will be coming up shortly after this one for our candidates running for City Council Place 1. We invite you to stay and hear that one with us. Again, these are your candidates for City Council Place 6. I have Tiffany Cara, who is with us on the phone, HUD Hartson, Alan Mormon, and Jacob Wallace. Remember, this lady and these gentlemen have stepped forward to serve this community, to stand between you and those that would sharpen their pitchforks and light their torches, to try to make Midlothian a better place tomorrow than it is today. We do need to respect that. We do need to thank all of them for being willing to step out into that line of fire regardless of who wins the race. I highly encourage each one of these leaders to be a servant for our community and serve in other capacities should this one not be the right fit. Remember that early voting starts next week from October 13th through October 30th, right here where we're sitting in our secret undisclosed location at the Midlothian Conference Center. And Election Day is on November 3rd. So please check out the Ellis County Elections website for your specific polling location or any other questions you may have. Thank you and good night.